Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the wrecking ball that Pam Bondi and the administration are taking to the DOJ staff in particular in direct violation of a whole body of law and regulations and practices. And it seems to be the ultimate goal of this gang to just undo them. Okay, let me tell you what the law is, always has been. You can get, and I know this from the other side, from as a U.S. attorney who had a very few number of discharges I was dying to make, but the number of hoops that one had to jump through, the things you had to document, and the whole kind of process was so complicated and so labyrinthine. More often than not, you just threw in the towel. And that's the way it's designed. So here, they are doing it indiscriminately again and again, and patently ignoring all those legal and regulatory hurdles, and I think laying the groundwork for just a frontal attack on them. The most recent and high profile on Friday evening, the ethics advisor for the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, right? The person who's, this has come up again and again when Bondi announced the indictment of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. She was a walking set of ethical violations, did everything wrong. Immediately the question came up, where's the ethics advisor? And why didn't he counsel her? Anytime a senior official has a question, may I work on this case? May I accept that gift? There's someone in place whose full-time job it is to tell you. And where was that person? Right there at DOJ, but quite plainly being completely ignored. And now on Friday, unceremoniously sacked with a letter, by the way, that misspelled his name and gave no reason at all for firing him, other than citing Article 2, which is maybe a ham-handed, clumsy way of beginning to set up an argument that we can do whatever the hell we want and regulations be damned, because Article 2 gives the president the absolute iron fist over the executive branch. But they're a guy who, by any measure, is just treated like crap after many years, was obviously very upset, says he still wants to work in public service. But it speaks volumes that they do this to the ethics officer, the person who is there to tell them when they're going outside bounds. They do not want to hear it. Somebody who's there just is a burr in their saddle, and they just want to dump. All right. Now so as I say, that's a high profile instance, but there have been many career employees at the department. So another step back is political employees, as the law always has been. They can be more or less arbitrarily dismissed by the political authorities, the higher ups who have political appointments. That's the whole design. But career folks have career protection, so they can do justice without fear or favor and apolitically, etc. They also have a whole series of remedies, starting with the Merit Systems Protection Board, where you can bring your claim, and first you can just bring it and try to resolve it without going to the MSPB. Then you go to the MSPB and they apply law, sometimes deferentially to the executive, but that's the way it works. The U.S. has said, yep, you have remedies, but you got to start here. And then from there, you can take it to the courts. And I've said again and again, all these firings have been unlawful and are going to create a lot of liability for the taxpayers, you and me, is at the scale they've done it at. And obviously they've got larger designs of just making the whole thing go away. So they have now been more than 20 career employees at the department were fired just on Friday. It included senior officials, but also prosecutors and support staff who once worked for, guess who? Jack Smith, So not only is that without reason, it's for plainly improper reasons of what case you worked on. And of course, those cases were by any measure righteous, even though in their Orwellian way, they now want to suggest that somehow the enemies were the DOJ and the heroes and patriots were the insurrectionists and marauders. Anyway, they are doing this, and they're doing it in a sort of peppered around the department in a widespread way. And, it's troubling given there's another tape we made today about the Supreme Court giving the administration really a broad berth to do things that seem patently illegal. But in other instances, they've let the administration go forward with mass layoffs, say of DOE folks. That's now happening. And these people are clearly being fired without cause. Nobody makes even an allegation that they've done anything wrong. A, they haven't, and B, if they did, they'd be able to fight it on the facts, and it just they would lose. And we're talking decades of case law in the MSPB, but also in the federal courts. A person who was fired early and has been a kind of a spokesperson for the dereliction and complete abandonment of the civil protection system for career employees was the pardon attorney, Elizabeth G. Oyer, who, and is about as bad a trade down as we've had, has been replaced now by the erstwhile nominee for DC U.S. Attorney Ed Martin. Anyway, she's filed suit and put out chapter and verse about how they are not complying. And really, they're not complying. You can't just summarily fire a career employee. You both legally and as a matter of sound practice, there's so much you have to do. And also as a matter of fairness, right? Political folks come in. You depend always on the career people to do justice without fear or favor. You don't want things to change dramatically just because of the happenstance of who is in charge of things politically. So those career protections, besides being the law and being really integral to what had been sort of the most beautiful part of the Department of Justice, a whole workforce that did it for the right reasons, came and went in to do the right thing and knew they were protected. And as long as they did the right thing and exercised professional judgment and played by the rules, including bringing cases because the facts and the law are there and not bringing them because they aren't, everything was going to be okay. Now everything has changed, starting with who'd you work for before? Was it a terrible enemy of the state, like, say, Jack Smith, who himself is now in legal hot water? And or did you do things that, we don't want you around now, like ethics advice? Or is it just a kind of arbitrary thing so the person in the office next door to you knows that person could be next? It is the complete, right now, demolition without legal authority of the whole system, and seems very clearly to be preparatory of an effort to just wipe out the whole system, which has been in place for decades and has been, part and parcel of the crown jewel of DOJ, namely impartial career folks, unlike, say, state systems, which may replace people because a new DA comes in. The federal workforce is there to do the right thing, to do justice without fear or favor. That is hugely to the benefit of the courts, for starters, but it's hugely to the benefit of the American people to know and for it to be the case that the rules and laws of the country are being applied fairly without any focus or consideration on, are you rich or are you poor, or are you a friend of the administration or not? Any fair, evolved legal system must incorporate those elements. Indeed, you have the Trump administration saying, and just lying through their teeth and saying, the Biden people politicize, we don't do that anymore. This is just one of the latest unmistakable signs that the truth is exactly contrary. When you fire your ethics officer with a misspelling of name and no reason given, along with 20 other career employees, you are striking not only a possibly final blow against those people's tenure in the Department of Justice, but you're taking dead aim at the whole system of career protections that serve not just the DOJ prosecutors and staff, but really the American people and the whole notion of a constitutional rule of law. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.